I guess we can keep talking. We can
Just silent
just
makes it
stand.
more dangerous. Oh, we're live.
Okay. Give it a couple of seconds.
Lexi said we're live.
Amazing. Oh, okay, we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another installment of Advance in Conversation. I am your host, Mica, and we will be talking today to the wonderful Kelsi from Native Peoples Action. So I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction, and then I'm going to pass it over to Kelsi, and she has the wonderful honor of answering all of the questions that I have today. So, my name is Micah Standing Soldier. I use she, her pronouns. I'm Oglala Lakota from South Dakota, currently living in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I am the National Program Manager of Strategic Recruitment and Partnerships here at Advance. So I get to meet all of the people and have all the wonderful conversations and get to build out our network of amazing Native leaders and organizers across the country. So I just get to meet people, and that's the best job ever. So a little bit of a background about Advance before I introduce our guest. For those who may be on the call and don't know who, what, where, when, or why Advance is, I'm here to tell you a little bit about it. So, Advanced Native Political Leadership, or ADVANCE, is the first and only national Native-led organization dedicated to building political power in Native communities. We take a holistic approach to create an ecosystem that focuses on leadership recruitment and support, civic engagement, data and research, and national coordination. We believe that when Native peoples and communities have access to national networks, to innovative tools for organizing, strong voter engagement strategies, and pathways to leadership, that we actually strengthen the health and well-being of all of our communities. Native political engagement has been deeply limited by historical, legal, and modern barriers, and this still rings especially true for Native women. And so, because of these barriers, Native peoples remain dramatically and drastically underrepresented in government at every level. So, one of the things that we do here at Advance as a way to increase representation in those spaces is our Native Leadership Institute. This training program is designed by and for Indigenous peoples. The NLI offers a culturally grounded, cohort-based experience for Native leaders. Native leaders may be listening to this, who are ready to step into elected office. And over the course of an intensive multi-day training, participants gain the practical skills and tools needed to run successful campaigns, all while being rooted in our shared Indigenous cultural values. So at Advance, we are committed to creating opportunities for leadership development, community connection, and visibility for Native leaders. So I'm now going to introduce the legend, the myth, the icon herself, Kelsi. Kelsi is the Communications and Indigenous Engagement Manager at Native Peoples Action, located in Alaska. Kelsi comes from a diverse background in fisheries, marketing, engineering, nonprofit, and government. Before joining NPA, she served as the city administrator and mayor of her hometown. Kelsi has worked and advocated at the local, regional, state, and international, she's international, everybody, international level. She also sits on the Southern Norton Sound Fish and Game Advisory Council, the Federal Subsistence Seward Peninsula Regional Advisory Council, and the Bering Straits Foundation. So she stays busy. So, Kelsi, thank you so much for joining us today, or tonight or afternoon, wherever you're tuning in from. We were able to talk beforehand, so if y'all also haven't watched that, you can take a little rewind on our Facebook and see our last conversation to get a little caught up. But for folks who have not been, maybe have not seen this before, can you give a little bit of a quick refresher about your role at Native Peoples Action and then some about the work you're doing and in your role?
Yeah, thanks, Micah. So I work for Native Peoples Action, which is a nonpartisan organization dedicated to uplifting and strengthening Alaska Native peoples and protecting our ways of life. And we're a statewide organization. We all work remotely and we're across the state. So I get to work in my hometown of Inupiaq, where I am currently raising my daughter. We work as an advocate alongside Native peoples. We amplify their work, their voices, their leadership, and we advance our collective priorities to fully practice, restore, and strengthen our rights as Native peoples. My position is the Communications and Indigenous Engagement Manager. I am behind the social media, creating toolkits, doing our website. I've also been working in the fisheries realm as well as doing voter and civic engagement as well.
Wow, so you're doing all of the things.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing sort of the start of all the work that you're doing. We're going to kind of go through kind of a little bit of background about some of the work that's being done and then some of the important issues that I think it'd be helpful for folks to hear about, especially from your perspective. So, first question. Alaska is often talked about as one big place, but it is an incredibly diverse cultural, political, and geographical space. So, how does that complexity shape what native leadership looks like across the state?
Like you said, it's so diverse. We got rural, we have urban, and what a lot of people might think of rural, think even deeper than that. We have communities who don't have running water or sewer. Um, you have to fly to get out there. So understanding the complexities that go into that are in rural Alaska so that you can serve the people there rightly and do good by them. Knowing how hard it is to get groceries out there, knowing how our ways of life are who we are, and we're not, we don't live where we live for no reason. We can't just move. We're not just going to move to Anchorage. We live where we do because it's where our people have been. It comes with complexities, and that's why we fight for our rights. That's why we fight for subsistence and being able to practice those and to be a leader in those spaces. You have to deeply understand these and immerse yourself with our people to be able to do that. You're not going to understand it by reading about it or by simply talking to people. Go out there for yourself and see it.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be in community to be able to understand community. There's no other
Yes.
way around it. Yeah. Um, there are a lot of decisions being made about Alaska's land and waters that shape daily life for communities across the state. What is at stake for Alaska Native people when Native voices aren't at those tables?
Everything. Like I said, it's our ways of life. It's who we are. We're deeply rooted in not just rural Alaska as a whole, where we know our specific areas. The traditional knowledge goes back thousands of years. And to not have that knowledge at the tables where decisions are being made for us is not right. And that's why we need people in these positions.
Yeah. Since we had last talked, there was, and kind of building on that, there's been an increasing attention on the Arctic, including climate impacts and growing interest in Alaska's resources. What does that reality mean for Native people who are thinking about leadership right now or stepping into leadership roles right now?
They have to realize that this is beyond our state now. The Arctic has gotten so much attention on the international level that you need to realize that how high the stakes are. This is not just within state leadership. This goes to federal leadership. This goes to international leadership. We need to be at these tables at every single level. And to and it seems daunting and huge, but that's why we work together. That's why you talk to your people. That's why you go into those communities and see exactly what they want and what they need. And placing that knowledge and that directing that energy in the right spaces as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's an urgency right now that is needed more than ever. Um, from your perspective, what are you seeing shift most quickly in Alaska's political or policy landscape that potential Native leaders need to understand?
The shift, I think it's the fact that it's fast changing. In the past year, with bills being passed, executive orders, really paying attention to those, um, we're seeing a heavy emphasis on the resources that Alaska has, the natural resources, and that's why it is such a diverse political landscape, is because we have those natural resources. Um, Seeing how much has changed within the past year, having to stay on top of all that is exhausting, and it's a big job for anyone to fill. So we understand why it might be intimidating to step into these spaces, but that's why we need people here. And yeah, it all comes down to what we have to offer in the Arctic.
Yeah. Yeah, and so you're Touching on folks, native leaders that are in state, I'm also curious for folks that are in the lower 48 or outside of Alaska. When you think of potential native leaders, why is it important that native leaders from Alaska are also working with native leaders from the lower 48? How does that work together in getting towards our shared goals?
I mean, uh, we all have so many commonalities. Our landscapes might be different, but our cultures are so similar that we do find that ease in being able to work together. But also that understanding of when we disagree. I just talked with someone recently about how unity has been the name of the game. We need to, in order to have these stronger voices, we need to be working together. And we're not going to do that with Alaska alone. We need all Native people standing together, working for the rights that all of us have fought for a long time now, and that we are slowly seeing being trying to take away. So it's always refreshing, like meeting people when I go down states and you come across other Native people and you guys might seem so different, but we're the same. That's why you and I have clicked so well. And yeah, it's good to have allies and people who are going to support you no matter where you are geographically.
Yeah, absolutely. That solidarity and also that shared connection of like indigeneity, just there's so many levels to it where you feel connected without necessarily having to grow up in the same space, which
Yes,
is really nice. Like overspending on earrings at different events, which I think many people probably in the audience can relate to.
for sure.
Um, um, in your work with NPA and your personal involvement in community spaces, what do you think many potential Native candidates underestimate about how fast some of these decisions are being made about Alaska and the Arctic?
One that comes to mind is climate change. I have worked in climate for a while and have been familiar with it thanks to my dad. And people don't realize that how you hear about climate change all the time, but it's something that's hitting in Alaska right now, and it's hitting us hard. We just had two typhoons in the last 3 years, and typhoons are tropical in nature, and the warming waters just shows um, or brings those systems up here, and that changing environment is threatening all of, the western coast, and um, yeah, how quickly it's happening, and the urgency of it, I think, is being uh, downplayed just because you aren't seeing, or the Arctic is seeing it the worst than, the heaviest out of anyone right now. And where it's happening right now, and a lot of people don't realize that things need to happen quickly because of how quickly our surroundings are changing.
Yeah, it's not a hypothetical, it's a reality at this point. Um, when people hear running for office, they most often think of like federal or statewide races. But that's not true. It's not true, everybody. It's not to spoil it. But why is local leadership like school boards or borough assembly, why are those roles so critical in Alaska right now?
For a couple of reasons. That's where the decisions that are going to affect you the most are happening. At the school board, at the city level, your tribal leaders, your native corporation leaders, all those decisions being made at those tables are affecting your daily life versus the things that you think about at like the statewide or the federal level. Um, those, of course, are affecting your daily lives as well, but it might not be as an immediate effect on you. Um, and then the that in another sense, that could be a stepping stone for people. I served as mayor of our hometown, and I currently serve on our city council. And that just being in those types of meetings gives you really good experience into those types of spaces where you're having to learn Robert's rules, or um, how to foster relationships with the state, how to foster relationships with contractors, Uh, all of that beginner, I guess, kind of beginner level type stuff happens at the local level. And that's really, I would really encourage people to step into those if you are thinking about running for office, because that's where you're going to get good kind of entry level experience. And those roles shouldn't be downplayed. They're important. They're just as important as our state and federal leaders.
Can you share a little bit about what those experiences were like or are currently like? Just things that you really appreciate about the role or things that maybe are a little bit more challenging, maybe things that surprised you a little bit.
What surprised me was a lot of the work that goes behind making communities work, small communities. And it made me appreciate the people who have to make decisions on like city level or state level or federal level. We're making big decisions at the small local level. And I can't imagine sitting in a position, and I commend people who want to do that at a larger in a larger arena. But right, I think the thing too that you have to think about is the that everyone faces the small town dynamics too. That might be a difficult part of local elections that you'll see and even, emphasize at a state and federal level. So being accustomed to those, you're going to disagree, but you can disagree at the table, but you have to be, and this goes back to what I was talking about with unity, you have to be united in what you want. Otherwise, you're just stagnant. You can't have city leaders fighting with tribal leaders. You need to have one unified voice moving if you want to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. How do those local offices that you were talking about, how do those function as the front line for protecting land, culture, and community, especially when you have those outside, like economic and political pressures that are, I guess, increasing, especially right now?
Those roles, like I said, are the ones making decisions for you at a smaller level, at the things that you're actually going to see. They're the people that are going to be lobbying for you. In Unalakleet, we have a seawall that we have protecting us, and without that, we wouldn't have Unalakleet would be underwater after all these fall storms. Um, so being in those positions, tribal, municipality, whatever it might be, those are the people that are advocating for you and your exactly where you are regionally. And without our leaders to give us that seawall, Unalakleet wouldn't be where it is. And you need those people who are going to step into those state and federal places and advocate for you.
Yeah, I no, I love that. And it also speaks to what you were talking about earlier with in order to be, an effective person in that space, you need to be a community member. You need to know why you need a seawall and what it's like to potentially not have one and how to be able to advocate for that in those spaces. And that comes from that knowledge of like being involved and being able to speak to like your neighbors and be like, okay, we also all agree on this.
Hmm.
Um,
And I
yeah.
think a lot of, sadly, we've had to explain to people why we live where we do. It's not just a simple solution of relocating or moving to the next village, or we've had in these bigger spaces where people aren't from where we are, or um, in the larger arenas, we've had to do presentations on exactly why we live where we do. We've had to show them our culture. We've had to show them our land, how beautiful it is where we are. And it still doesn't get through to people, but we're going to do it in these spaces because we love where we live.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be, oh, we have to move rather than solving the things that are creating the conditions for us to have to move, right? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. Speaking a little bit to what it's like to be in those spaces where you are having to advocate for something like your your right to exist in your cultural home and your cultural land. Why is working across differences, like those differences, essential to building strong shared Indigenous futures in Alaska?
That's a tough. I feel like that's really I could talk for a long time on that, and I'm gonna try
We have
not
time. We have
to.
time.
Okay. Um, and I know I touched on this already, but unity, like every space I've been in has has systems that were designed to work against us as Native people. You go to any governing body, any regulatory meetings, these systems were meant to disclude us, they were meant to divide us. Um, Staying united is what gets us through these. It's what gets us what we need, not just what we want, what we need. I was just in North Pacific Fishery Management Council meetings, and people need our salmon. They don't just want it. They don't just want profits. They need our salmon to live. And in order to find a common ground at those types of meetings, yeah, we might need money to live, but we also need salmon to live. Finding that commonality and working towards that one goal is how we're going to build each other up. It's how we're going to build our communities, continue to make them stronger. Um, and it's for every argument that I come into, I always argue that this isn't even for me. This is for our future generations. This is for, and I'm a single mom. I have a 7-year old. Um, I bring her into those spaces and I say, this is who it's for.
Ah, I got chills. I love that. I think about how in some of the conversations we've had between you and I and with organizations in Alaska, one of the things that I think is brought up a lot is the idea of the 10,000 year plan. Um, and I'm a Capricorn, so I always have a 5 year plan, but I love the idea of a 10,000 year plan. And that also I think rings to why being Indigenous in office and being there for your community first and foremost, as like as yourself, as your ancestors who fought where they were for your survival, and as your future descendants, to be able to be all at the table at once, like ringing in that and why it's so important. I feel like it's just like part of the magic of why it's so important for us to be in those spaces.
Yes.
Future nostalgia, as Dua Lipa would say. Um, for folks who care really deeply about their community, if anything, if any of these conversations to you listening, and look at you, you in the audience rings deeply, but maybe you don't see yourself as political. Why is this moment calling those folks into leadership?
Because this isn't about politics anymore. This is our ways of life. This is who we are. We're fighting to be able to go down to our river and fish. We're fighting for being able to harvest a moose every fall and do it, pass it down to our kids. This is so much more than just holding a position as a politician, where we want these people elected into these spaces because they are, unfortunately, these spaces are the ones that are making decisions for us, whether we like it or not. And we've had to learn all these different systems. We've had to come together and advocate in them, but we need people sitting at the table making the decisions for us, advocating for us, listening to us, and actually taking that information in when we have people going to testify or going to, you know, Senate committees, somebody sitting in that room and at that table, listening to somebody who's, telling them about we want to be able to fish. We want to be able to harvest this or that. Uh, it's going to resonate with somebody who has been there and who understands you. And we need people in those spots because if, like I was talking about, if you have never lived there, you can't truly understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many of the best leaders are the ones that are just community members who stood up and did something in that moment. And it's just about needing the knowing that you're needed and stepping up to be there, which I think is like the most important part. And that little push of just like, I can do it. There's so many people before me that have done it, and it's just a different space to be a leader. Um,
If it's calling you, answer that call, man. You don't have to label yourself as a politician. You're just being a leader. You're speaking up for yourself, for your family, for your people, and not just your communities. It's for your region. Yeah, everyone.
yeah, your ancestors are calling everybody. Don't put it on Do Not Disturb. That's really rude. Um, what can people do right now to get involved, and how is Native Peoples Action supporting that participation?
We lately have been in tons of regulatory meetings. People have come, there were let's see, 187 people signed up to testify at this last meeting I was at, um, and over 150 tribes represented.
Wow.
And we were encouraging stepping into those spaces because even if you don't see yourself as a leader, just the everyday person can go into those. They're all
Mm.
public meetings. Make your voice heard. We really encourage people to, there's so many avenues where you can make your voice heard. You can write letters, you can call in, you can um, have meetings with your senators. You can, yeah, these meetings that you can attend are all public, and we're trying to provide the resources to allow people to attend them. And how I was talking about on the how these spaces are not made for us and they're all really difficult to navigate. I've spent so much time trying to understand all these processes so that we can create these toolkits and that so that people can understand them a little better, making the information digestible because sometimes the information is going to be either really scientific or really technical. Trying to make that easily readable for people, um, and so that they can take that information and are able to speak on it. Um, you have all the knowledge right here, and you were the way we're all raised, the way where we come from. That's enough information. That's more than enough. You don't need a biology degree or a law degree or something to step into these and make your voice heard. And we really want NPA really wants people to harness that and use it, to advance our people.
You heard it here first. There's the resources, there's the toolkits.
Mm.
One day or day one, everybody, take that first step.
And then you have
Uh,
the training coming up.
exactly. Yeah. Can you tell people more about the training coming up? Good sequitur.
Yes. So the training, how many days is it? 4 days? I should
Five,
know this.
five.
Okay. Yeah. I'm a trainer. I should know this, right? Um, training coming up. If you're interested in civic leadership, and it doesn't, people see the ads and they think they need to run for senator or representative or something on that level. You don't have to be running for one of those to apply for this training. You can be running for school board, you can be running for city council. All of these are important positions, like we said in this conversation. Anything, any role you want to step into, apply. It's such a great, the curriculum. So I trained back in September and preparing for that, I was just mind blown by it. The tools that you're given in this training are going to set you up for success. It goes over campaigns, it goes over fundraising. I know fundraising makes us all super uncomfortable. Asking for money is not something uh, that makes anyone comfortable unless it's, your cousin that's I was asking you for $20. Um, but that's it, it helps you, it gives you the tools to step out of your comfort zone and into running a successful campaign.
Yes, couldn't have said it better myself. The application deadline for that is February 18th. So, folks, if you want to get that in, Kelsi will be at the training. I'll be at the training curating the music. So it's going to be a great vibe, in addition to all the many wonderful things you're going to learn. Okay, it is now time for our surprise section, which is a true or false game. I'm going to invite Lexi up here. I don't know what up here is on the screen. Um, Lexi is the amazing person who is crafting the Facebook Lives, who is oftentimes hosting our Advance in Conversations, who is doing wonderful things. So I'm going to pull up the questions. Lexi, you want to introduce yourself? Let the people know.
Hi, y'all. My name is Lexi. I'm the National Program Associate here at Advance and run behind the scenes of Facebook Live. Um, and y'all had a great conversation tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you, Micah, for hosting, and thank you, Kelsi, for being our second attendee this year. We are so excited for our upcoming Alaska training, and I'm excited to finally go to Alaska.
I've also never been, so I'm really excited. Okay, Kelsey, you ready?
Go for it.
Okay, our last person got 9 out of 10, so don't feel bad at all. These are, I think they'll be tricky, but if they're
No
not, also it's good too. No pressure. You don't have to get 10 out of 10, but if you get, what do we say, 6 out of 10 or more, you get a special prize. So we'll
Yeah,
see if you get
six
there.
out of 10.
Okay. All right. This is going to be rapid fire. Okay. Question one. Unically is an official checkpoint in the Iditarod Trail Dog Sled Race.
True. It's the first one on the coast.
Oop, exactly. Look at you. 1 out of 1. Okay. The Portland State University mascot is Vigo the Valkyrie.
What a Valkyrie. False? True?
False. It is it oh,
Oh,
you
it's
got it.
false.
It's false. It's
False?
false. Yeah, we'll stay there. It's Victor E. Viking.
Victor E. Viking. I couldn't remember.
Alaska's state flag was designed by a 98-year-old woman.
False.
That's false. Yeah, it was designed by a 14-year-old boy named Benny Benson in 1927.
Yeah.
The world record for the heaviest cabbage is 138 pounds.
False.
It is true. It is
I thought
held
it was
by
gonna be harder.
it's held by Scott A. Robb from Palmer, Alaska in 2012. There's a lot of actually world records of produce in Alaska because of the long summers. So lots
Yeah.
of growing time.
That's why I thought it was gonna be bigger because we see those at the state fair all the time, and they
You
seem,
said 138 is not that impressive.
yeah. I was like, that's lighter than me.
To honor Alaska Native civil rights leader Elizabeth Peratrovich in her role in passing the 1945 anti-discrimination law, the U.S. Mint released just under 1 million $1 coins.
True. False? Was it more?
I don't know. I don't know. What is it? True or false?
I think it's true.
It is false. They released 5 million $1 coins.
Ah, it was more.
I know that was a rude question. Uh, Lake Iliamna, the largest lake in Alaska, is said to be home to a huge Loch Ness-style creature. The creature's name is Illy.
False.
It is true. Great, you're
That's
doing great still.
not my
Witness-
region.
Witnesses have said that she resembles a 50 to 60-foot long shark, which is terrifying. I also just gendered her and then said she was big, so I'm on a roll. Okay. Alyssa Peely, a Samoan and Inupiaq professional basketball player, played for Diamond High School in Anchorage.
True.
True, and she won 13 state championships in her 4 years there.
Yep.
Kelsey got to meet Alyssa Peely, which I am forever jealous and just sounds amazing. The MetLife Stadium, home to the New York Giants and the New York Jets, opened its doors in 2008.
2008. I thought it was 2002. False? No,
False, but you're wrong. It's 2010, but you're right. It's false. The official state flower of Alaska is the fireweed plant.
our flower.
Hmm.
True. Hmm?
I don't know. Is it true or false? What do you think?
No, it's false. It's a forget-me-not. It just took me a little bit.
I was trying to hint. I don't know if it was obvious. Okay, yes. False. It's the forget-me-not. You got it right. Okay, last question. There are currently 65 elected officials in Alaska who identify as American Indian, Alaska Native, or Native Hawaiian.
Ooh, elected officials? Is that like across the whole state?
Hmm.
Because I would say false if so.
That's correct. It is false. There are actually 75 elected officials in Alaska who identify as American Indian, Alaska Native, or Native Hawaiian. And maybe after this conversation and the next training, that might be more. That
Hopefully
might
more.
be a false statement soon. Lexi, how did she do?
7 out of 10.
Woo! You're gonna give
Prediction.
me. That's amazing. And you came back because it wasn't looking good for a second, but then you did
No,
so great.
not.
That's amazing. Yes, we will be sending you a lovely something. I don't even know what it is, but it'll be something great. But thank you so much for joining us this evening, everybody who's watching. I hope you learned a lot of bit about everything in Alaska. You learned from Kelsi and you learned some trivia that you may not have known. And thank you, Kelsi. Before we sign off, is there anything that you would like to say to folks? Any takeaways? Any like golden nuggets of information?
I just really encourage people to apply. I don't feel intimidated by it at all. Um, like I said, there's a lot of people who thought it had to be on a um, state, federal level. If you want to run for city council of your village that's 200 people, apply. This is for everyone. We don't exclude people who want to go small time before they go big time.
Exactly. We all start somewhere and everywhere is important. Again, thank you so much, Kelsi. And for folks listening, if this conversation inspired you to learn more about how you can be the change in your community, we would love to talk with you. You can learn more about the Native Leadership Institute and our leadership training by checking out our website, advancednativepl.org, or NPA's website, which I don't remember offhand, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And I believe we do have Twitter or X, whatever Elon calls it nowadays, for more information and events that are coming your way. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful night and keep showing up for our community.